Namaste, friends, and welcome. Happy to feel you out there in the cyber world. We are connected. And welcome to your practice that I've designed today called Go with the Flow. So I think we've been living a year where we all need to adapt in some way or another. And what we resist persists. And when we push back on things that might make us a little uncomfortable, then that can create more discordance or tension or stress within all of our systems. So let's take a moment to tune in to our own breaths, our own bodies, our own energy currents, and just see if we can do our best to let go of any of those holding patterns that might be holding us in a state of resistance that blocks that state of flow. All right, so let's close our eyes together and take 3 deep centering breaths. We'll inhale through our nose, exhale with a sigh, and just land on your cushion. So as you breathe deeply here and start to ground down into your seat, allow yourself to lengthen the spine, to bring the air more deeply into the lower lobes of your lungs, and begin to cultivate a very even, steady, rhythmic flow of breath. So we call that samavriti pranayama, and sama means same. So depending on how you're arriving and where you came from this morning and all that it took for you just to get to your mat, acknowledge that. And so there are days where we naturally feel more centered and calm, and it's easy to get into the state of flow. And there are other days where we may feel more fragmented, distracted, or emotional, where it takes a little extra time and a few extra breaths to arrive physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually onto our mat. And the good news is that yoga welcomes us exactly how we are, so you don't need to change anything. Let's take our hands to our lower belly. So between the pubic bone and the navel resides our Shavasana chakra. And this is the second energy center that is governed by water. So our practice today of go with the flow will move with that state of flow, cultivating fluidity. So as you breathe, I invite you to take deeper breaths into the lower abdomen so that you can start to feel a gentle expansion, not only in the front body into your hands, but can you draw your awareness inwardly to breathe through the lower back, the kidneys, the adrenal glands as well. So for your next few rounds of breath, really drop down into your feeling sense, so you can sense and feel and visualize everything that's happening for you right now in this lower region of our torso, the lower abdomen, the lower sides of the waist, the lower back, and all of the internal abdominal organs that are in this area. And it's so multidimensional. This energy center that we're going to focus on here today is about not only fluidity and a sense of flow, but it's also about joy and pleasure. So think about how you might be able to bring a little bit more joy and lightness and ease into your practice today. And as you shift that level of awareness and consciousness within your practice here together, then you'll notice how that starts to shift into your day with a deeper level of awareness of bringing more lightness and pleasure and joy into everything else that you do, from your conversations to your interactions, to your relationships, to your work. And a more creative flow starts to happen that brings more natural sense of productivity, but in a different way. So get really still, focus on the lower abdomen, the lower back. And if there's anything that you sense that's holding you back from feeling joy, pleasure, lightness, flow, can you create an intention to say, you know what, I'm ready to put that aside for now, or at least for the next 45 minutes. And if it's that important, we can pick it up again. But for now, Let's just experience this kind of a practice like it's the first time that we've ever done this, exploring our second energy center of flow and fluidity and water. So let's take our hands to our knees, and I'll invite you actually to cross and uncross your legs in the other directions. You're on the non-dominant side. Might feel a little different. And you can keep your eyes closed if you'd like, or just visualize a spot in front of you and begin to draw little circles, leading those circles from your belly. So as we bring awareness to our navel and the lower back area, I want you to imagine that you're moving like fluid, like water. And this is a water element that we're working here today. So just through the lower belly, drawing these imaginary circles with your belly button. Breathe in on one part of your circle and breathe out on the other part of your circle so that you start to drop down from the thinking mind into the feeling sense. So one of the affirmations for this energy center is, I feel. So I'm going to encourage you to go into that feeling sense of noticing what's there, to go into those deeper layers of prana, the energy body here today. And just a few more rounds here, feeling that area of the pelvis, the abdomen, the lower back. Does that move smoothly this morning, or does that feel rigid? Does it feel calm? Does it feel agitated? Is there lightness or heaviness? Try it in the other direction and notice how that feels as you shift. And so you bring that awareness to all those areas in the side waist, so just above the iliac crest, between the lower ribs and the top of the hips. How does that deep connective tissue move for you right now? Does it feel sticky or smooth? Lower back, kidneys, adrenals. Do you feel calm or stressed? If you're feeling tense or stressed in any way, your adrenals are going to love this to be able to rebalance and restore your energy. Good. And then take a pause. As you come back through the center, you can either continue using your cushion or sit flat on the floor to come into Badakanasana. So it's a bound angle pose. And if the hips are tight, then just bring the feet a little farther ahead of you. If they're feeling a little supple, then bring the feet a little closer. And let's begin some butterfly movements here. Okay, so the second energy center governs all of the musculature, the nerves, the connective tissue around the pelvis. So we're going to work a lot through the hips here today. Okay, so let your legs just move naturally and check in with the hip joint. Is that moving well for you? Do you feel any stiffness or tightness in there? We're just going to loosen it up. So don't try to force or strain anything. Let's get the spine nice and long. Take a couple of more deep breaths. And if it's possible, maybe inching the heels towards you a little bit. But you discern on how deep you need to go. There should never be pinching or pain, but just a nice sensation of opening. And then slow the movement down. Let's take a deep breath in. Extend up through the arms now towards the ceiling. Reach up through the fingertips and try to grow a little bit taller through the spine, through the arms. Give it a little wiggle side to side, like you're stretching the right side and then the left side. And I'll make these suggestions. You make the decisions whether you want to go deeper. If your range of motion is different or your speed is different than mine, that's perfect. Good. Take it into a lateral bend over to the right side. So a little sway, moving like water. So we're moving fluidly right to left. Let's do that again. And just begin to float in your own way. Breathe in as you come back to your middle sense, and then breathe out when you start to feel that deeper sensation. So that we're staying true to our yogic principles of allowing the breath to initiate, sustain, and complete all movement. Now let's keep those sit bones and the hips really well anchored into the floor and just sway. Be like water, fluid. And water changes path quickly. So just like in life, if there's obstruction, instead of forcing or pushing, then could we just go around those tight areas, go around where you think that there might be blockage or tension, and just get it moving. One more time each side. Allow the breath to flow. And after this last one, when you come back to the center, interlace your fingers up overhead, press the palms up towards the ceiling. Draw your chin down towards your chest as you lengthen the arms upwards. Very gently start to pull them back at the same time. And see if you can grow a little bit longer through the side body again. Maybe wiggle into it if that feels appropriate for your body this morning. And as you tuck the chin down to the chest, maybe a little bit deeper, we start to open the back of the neck. So making very gentle no motions now with your head, just like you're tracing a line with your chin along your collarbones from right to left. As you take another deep, slow breath, let's come back here through the center. Release the arms behind you. Place the fingertips to the floor and then press the heart forward. Look up and begin to expand the collarbones, expand the chest area. Let your belly just relax. Take another breath, feeling maybe the anterior part of your shoulder. This is a nice one if you're working at your desk a lot. Most of us are. This creates an opposite movement to the flexion that we do all day. It opens up the arms, the biceps, the shoulders, the chest. And then take another full breath. And when you've exhaled, just release from that pose. And let's come into all fours here together. If you're using a cushion, let's place it aside for now. And we'll do a bit of an exaggerated table pose. So with the all fours, we'll take the knees a little wider than the hips and the hands a little wider than shoulder distance. We'll keep the toes curled under, spread the toes, and let's spread the fingers nice and wide so you have a firm anchor point. Now move back like you're going into child's and then undulate your spine. So begin to round, drop your head down, and float yourself forward. You'll be a little bit in an arched position as you come to the front, and then lead back with your hips. When you move your hips to your heels, round the spine, soft joints, come forward again. I invite you here to move fluidly like water. So begin to flow forward and back. And as you do that explorative motion, invite each part of your spine to participate in the movement. So your neck, your middle back, your lower back, bringing more circulation into all of the joints of our spine. The intervertebral discs are getting nourished, starting to lubricate the hips, the sacrum, and also up to the top, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists. Let's do that 2 more times. Breathing in one part of your movement, breathing out to the back. And when you get up to the front again, bend your right elbow, lean to the right side, move from your hand to your right knee, and then move over to your left knee, and then up to your left hand. So you're doing a big, exaggerated body circle here. All right, so moving with flow, water-like. So again, we're going to keep our focus for the entire practice on this type of movement today of fluidity of motion. Breathe in one half of your circle, breathe out the other half of your circle. Ideally, we breathe in as we move to the front, and we breathe out as we move to the back. Synchronizing that breath-body motion so that the breath carries you through, releasing any obstruction, tightness, blockage, so our prana can flow more freely. And after this last one, just do the same thing here in the other direction. So coming forward and back with lots of movement. So scan your body. If there's any areas that you feel that are a little bit more restrictive or tense, see if you can bring more breath there, more movement, more flow, more circulation. And we're talking circulation. It's blood flow that carries more oxygen to our tissues. We're lubricating our fascia, our deep connective tissue. It's lymphatic flow. This is wonderful for strengthening our immune system, our lungs, and also pranic flow, our deep energy. So let's do that one more time, flowing through it. And as you come back to the center, just release your hands, so release your feet, and just do a little flowering lotus. So take your fingers here together and just flower them out. So a little bit of wrist movement and hand movement. Okay. Good. And then go the other direction. So great for wrist mobility. We spend a lot of time on the hands in many of our yoga poses. So this is nice. This is a good one if you've been more than an hour on the keyboard too. You can flower your lotus. Good. All right, let's do the fire hydrant pose now. Another wonderful movement for the hips. So hands right under the shoulders, knees right under the hips. Engage your abdomen a little bit. Just start to pull it in. And then start these big hip circles. Draw your knee towards your ear. You can explore different range of motion, different speed of movement. That's it. So your spine stays nice and long. Get lots of movement through the hip, and then change directions. Do the same thing, maybe another 5 or 6 rounds here. Okay, does that feel different that way? So working all the musculature and deep tissues around the hips. And this is great if you spend any amount of time sitting. Stimulates the glutes, stimulates the rotators of our hip, and starts to bring more resiliency through the pelvis. Good. Inhale, lengthen the leg back. Exhale through your mouth, bring the knee to your forehead. Inhale through your nose, send it back. Exhale with a ha. So stimulate your abdomen now as you exhale, finding a range of motion that's suitable for you. Fill the lungs, empty the lungs. 2 more. As you complete that, bring your knees to the floor. Sit back to a child's pose. Relax through the arms. Stretch them, elongate from the shoulders, elbows, wrists to the tips of your fingers. Rock side to side a couple of times. And then come back up onto all fours. Take a breath. Engage your abdomen. Draw the belly in a little bit. And let's do those big hip circles on the other side. So drawing the knee towards the ear. Keep your head and neck relaxed, so look down. Very good. Feel that you're giving that entire joint a nice massage. And you want to explore every angle, getting as much range of motion as you can. And after another time in this direction, try that the other way. Okay, lots of movement. Moving with fluidity, with flow, water-like. What does that feel like? What does that look like for you? If you're going with the flow. Another couple of rounds. After your last one, send that leg straight back. Take a breath. Get nice and long right out through the crown. Exhale through your mouth. Draw the knee to the forehead. Continue. Breathe in through the nose. Go long and exhale, contract. Stimulate the abdomen area. As you release the breath, we release stagnancy through our internal abdominal organs. Let's do that 1 or 2 more. After your last one, we'll sit back to that child's pose again, this time with the knees a little bit wider, big toes touching, and rock yourself side to side. Good. Stretch the arms, the hands, the wrists. We'll move into our first downward facing dog. So as you come back into all fours, send your hands far forward. Your feet are hip distance apart. Feel that you're moving towards child's pose. So you keep the length here through your arms and through your spine. Shoulders down and relax. Start to peel the knees off the floor. Send your hips back and skyward. And if this is your first bit of movement here today, then keep your knees bent and try to get lots of length through the upper body first. And then pedal the feet, drawing one heel down at a time. Spread the toes nice and wide. And give the back part of your body a nice awakening stretch here, moving fluidly. So maybe a little different than the practices that we've been doing so far together. This one, we're really bringing intention to go with the flow. All right. So let's do 4 rounds here of synchronizing breath and body movement. Position your feet both towards the floor, lengthen your hips, lengthen your spine, press the hips back. Take a deep breath in as you draw both knees to the floor now. Exhale, sit back towards your child's pose. Let everything release. Inhale, come back into all fours. Exhale, move into downward facing dog. Now go with the flow. Here we go. Inhale all the way through to table. Exhale all the way through to child's. Soften. Inhale back to all fours. Exhale through to downward facing dog. You've got it. Now keep going. If your pace is different than mine, just follow your breath. All fours with an in-breath. Child through the out-breath. So there's this smooth rhythmic flow between the breath and the body movement. That looks good. Breathe it in. So remember, our second energy center is all about feeling. So notice how this feels and go into feeling sense, because in a day we're often in our heads. So this is a kind of practice that will help you move from your head, the thinking mind, into the feeling body. Keep going. And the more we learn to feel, the more we can be present. It's very hard to be present when we're thinking and analyzing and judging and solution-oriented mind. So for now, we're giving that part of the brain a break. We're tapping into our creative parts of our brain by moving our body fluidly. Good. One more round. Beautiful. Next time you're in your downward facing dog, take a pause. Take a pause. Hold. Glue your feet together first, and let's send our right leg up and back into a nice big three-legged dog. We're opening up through the hips here. When you're ready to exhale, bend your knee and take that right foot on the outside of the right hand and draw your left knee down to the floor. And here I'll encourage you to do a little bit of pelvic and hip movement as you move the hips back and then move the hips forward. Yes, back and forward. Releasing through the belly. So there's no holding on. We're working a lot of mobility and suppleness here. With a more elastic body, there's less risk of injury, of tightness, of tension. So just keep it moving here. Good. Now, after this last one, just pause for a moment. Pause, draw the hips down towards the floor. Extend your right arm straight forward all the way up. Give your spine a little rotation and take your hand to your lower back and look behind your shoulder. And take a breath. Release downwards. Nice. As you inhale, circle that arm back up. And let's return it this time to the outside of the right foot so that we can step back to downward facing dog. Pedal your feet. Glue the feet together. Left leg reaches up and back, three-legged dog. Extend right from the tips of your fingers back to the tips of those toes. Relax your head down. Allow for a lot of length through your arms, your spine, your leg. When you're ready to exhale, slowly float that left foot to the outside of the left hand. Draw the right knee down to the floor. And same thing here. So lift the pelvis back and then bring it forward. Relax your belly. Wonderful for the hip flexors, all the muscles in the anterior part of your hip. Soft shoulders. See if you can just draw them down away from your shoulders as you do this, or your ears as you do that movement. And go into your feeling sense. How do the hip flexors feel for you today on the right side? A little different than the other side? Sometimes. Feels like we have two different bodies, right and left. Good. So take a pause the next time you're forward in that deeper lunge. Yes, and then left arm circles upwards. So send it forward, bring it up, turning the torso naturally. Draw the hand to the lower back and look behind the shoulder. And reconnect to a deeper breath. Circle the arm back, up and down, but this time on the outside of the foot. So maybe walk your foot in just a little bit. Step back to your downward facing dog. And let's bring that into flow, my friends. We'll go for 3 rounds. So glue the feet together. Next time you inhale, send your right leg up and back. Float that right leg forward beside your right foot. Draw the knee down. Lengthen the spine, fluid-like. And then send that right leg back to three-legged dog. Come on back. Let's do that 2 more times on this side. So pull it in, step it to the outside. And as challenging as that might be for your hips, see if you can move like water. Be fluid. And that might require a little bit of stability, a little bit of control through the core muscles to do that. Last round. Breathe through it. Working some stability, taking us out of the comfort zone a little bit. And then the next time you can plant that right foot down and do the same thing on the left. So left leg sweeps up and back. Keep breathing. Let it step to the outside of your left hand. Draw the right knee to the floor. Readjust. Take your time. There's no rush. Smooth, rhythmic motion. So you know the move. That's it. A lot of focus around the pelvis, the hips, areas that tend to get a little restricted when we sit too much during the day. And last time there. Bring the foot back down, send the knees to the floor. Have a seat so you can release the arms, give the arms a little shake, release your hands, and come into a seated position, 90 degree with the legs. And this will take us into the pigeon pose, but we'll do a few different variations of it first for the rotators of the hips. Okay, so 90 with both knees. And let's turn here. So we'll turn, if I'm mirroring you, we'll turn towards the left side, sweep the torso down, undulate the spine, breathing in, breathing out, lower the belly down to compress towards that front thigh and roll and round the spine back up. Do that a few more times. Down and up. Again, just finding the range of motion. Maybe you need to take your hands in the front of the body if that's a little tighter, in the hips or for other reasons. Moving down and up so that you can find freedom in your movement. You got it. All right. Now, after that last one, come back up through the center, sweep the knees over to the other side. Hands come to the floor. So either with the hands in front, kind of framing your front knee, or at the tibia, or more at the foot. So it's fun to explore movement. There's no right or wrong in this, by the way. It's really just finding movement. And having a more functional body means being able to move multidimensionally in different directions and just kind of checking in to see what's there. Okay. Sometimes I feel really supple in my hips in some directions, and then I go do another different type of movement or range of motion, and I discover that something that I didn't even know was there that's a little tight that sometimes restricts movement or motion. All right, so come on forward. The next time you finish that last flow, bring the knees back to the other side. Now, you can either stay here or start to slide that opposite leg back. So you're coming into a pigeon. Now, the pigeon, if I've got my right knee forward here right now and my left leg extended back, I'm taking my right knee out on a slight diagonal, okay, to open it up. Now, I like to use a cushion sometimes for that front hip. So if you feel that your pelvis is a little off center or off level, I bring a yoga block or the corner of my meditation cushion just under my right glute, and that will just help stabilize and balance out the hips. So you may want to try that as well. And then gradually begin to walk that left leg back so that you can line up the hip, the knee, and the ankle, okay, as best as you can. Yes, keep that knee open so your heel is forward a touch too, so you're not completely flexed in your front knee. Beautiful. And then find your position. So maybe today it's on the fingertips, keeping the spine long. Maybe it's on the forearms, drawing the torso down a little bit lower. Or maybe it's extending the arms all the way, or even forehead to hand. So these are suggestions that you can play with so that you find just the right angle that begins to unknot or undo all that connective tissue in and around the hips and the pelvis. And then breathe. Relax your belly and do your best to breathe into the lower back area. Soften. This is a very yin pose, and yin is a feminine posture. It's the qualities of the moon. The second chakra is very feminine. It's very yin. It's fluid. It's receptive. This is a pose that we could easily stay 5 minutes in to continue feeling the undoing, feeling the effects of this posture as it builds more suppleness and resiliency through the tissues and muscles around the pelvic area and hips. So you may find today throughout the practice that there's one that challenges you, and that could be your go-to as your weekly homework to come to your mat. And just sometimes a yoga practice is just one pose to get still. And this is a nice one to do that. Calms the mind, the frontal brain. Very nourishing. And begin to unravel yourself now to come back through the movement the way we began. So bending both knees back to that 90-90 position. Yes. And then sweep them over to the other side. So again, just finding your flow. Maybe it's staying here today. Maybe it's starting to extend the leg back a little bit deeper. Okay, so there's lots of variations and alignments that you can play with what we call Kapotasana or Pigeon Pose. If you're going to go into the full pigeon, I'm going to suggest opening the thigh on a slight diagonal, so the hip to the knee, slight opening of the knee joint. And then gradually, as the hands spiral forward, you can use your back toes to gently walk your knee in. And again, I'm using the cushion, the corner of it, just under my glute so that I can keep my pelvis straight. Yes, so that my back right hip is moving forward and my left hip is moving back, just to bring the hip bones both pointing forward here as best as you can. So there's often a lot of mini maneuvering as we get into these deeper postures. Take your time. Breathe either on your hands, your forearms, arms extended, or your forehead down on your hands. I'll let you just find your angle here and breathe into it and get still. Slow the breath down, close your eyes, and just enjoy getting silent in your body and knowing that as you begin to unlock tighter areas, that there's a greater chance that prana will flow. It's like unknotting a garden hose. If you're watering your garden and there's a knot in the hose, the water doesn't flow. As soon as you take the knot out of the hose, water flows. So it's the same thing. Our nadis, our energy channels, our meridians is like the hose. The water is the prana, the energy that moves through our body. And the more it flows, the better we feel. The more our moods are stable, the more focused we are, the more we can flow through the day with ease and grace rather than struggle or strain. So yoga is all about cultivating and nourishing our energy through the asana practice, our postures, through the breath, through intention and awareness. So it teaches us to stay focused and present, noticing what's there so that we can discern from moment to moment what direction to take. Now, as you start to think about releasing from that posture, coming back out the way you went in, you can come back into that 90-90. Good. And then from here, let's just bring the knees together, come back onto all fours, step back into a downward facing dog to realign. And just for a couple of breaths, and then we'll walk our feet towards our hands. And mini movements of your feet. Begin to walk the feet forward. Good. Until you can't go any farther, and then part your feet a little bit, at least shoulder distance apart. Hug both elbows with your hands. Drop your torso down. Let the torso sway from side to side. Take 2 deep breaths. Let the head feel heavy, drawing weight downwards to decompress your back. And then let the arms dangle forward. Roll vertebrae by vertebrae. Take your hands to your hips. Keep your chin in. Let that be the last thing to come up as you move through mountain pose. Standing with your feet hip to shoulder distance apart, with the hands still on the hips. Just start to move them from side to side. Little attitude. Yeah. Thanks for the smiles. That's fun. All right. So lots of fluidity, just side to side first. Great for all the outer part of the hip here. Nice. And then we're going to do pelvic movement forward and back. So soft knees, tilt the tailbone down, draw the pubic bone up, and then do the opposite. Pubic bone reaches down and back, sit bones shine behind you. Good. So a little pelvic movement here, forward and back. Now, can you do this with fluidity? So second energy center is all the hip. It's sensuality. It's our pleasure center. Do this with lightness and joy. And then let's combine those 2 movements together. So side, side, forward, and back. Yeah, side, side, forward, and back. How about swaying with the arms? Side, lightness, and flow. Do it your way. Maybe your body doesn't want to move the way mine is moving and what you see. So close your eyes and be guided with your flow. How does your body want to express itself today? Through the pelvic area, through the lower back, through the hips, through the legs. Play with it. This teaches us to step out of our comfort zone a little bit of the way we normally move and just have fun. Like you're listening to your favorite music and you're just jiving with it. Yeah. Flow. Second energy center, pleasure, sensuality, rhythm. Good. Couple more rounds. I love it. Lots of hip movements, all in the hips. Breathe. Good. And then come on back to the center. Let's bring the feet a little bit wider into goddess pose. Turn the feet wide. Take the elbows and the forearms together here in front of you. As you exhale, sink a little deeper into your legs. And as you inhale, open those arms nice and wide. Yes, reveal yourself. And then come down a little bit deeper. Let's keep going. Breathing in, expand. And then breathing out, descend. Awesome. Beautiful. The knees are falling in line with your toes here. So your feet are only open maybe 45 degrees. Yes, that's nice and safe for your knee tracking. Breathe, flow through this movement, finding your range of motion. My hips feel a lot more warmed up now than the beginning. How about you? So you might be able to play with deeper ranges of motion if that feels safe. Breathe in, expand. Breathe out, descend. Finding the range that feels good. A few more times. On that last one, hold it down. Hold it down. Open the arms nice and wide. Reveal your heart. Ah. Love it. Turn the palms facing the sky and send your arms out to the sides. Good. Reach to the fingers. Now lateral bend from right to left. Right to left. Fluid motion. Fluid motion. Get the shoulders moving. Yes. Create space in the shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your fingers. And how about your side body and your ribs to the tops of your hips? Loosen all that up. We don't move enough laterally through life. So when we do these moves, my whole body is like, oh yeah, I need that kind of movement. That feels good. Awesome. All right, bring your hands back to your hips. Come back into the center. Let's turn both feet to the front. Bring them a little closer together here. So standing head to knee pose. Straight legs. Engage your thigh muscles. Press into your back heel. Hands on the hips. Hinge forward now. Forward flexion of the torso. Draw the elbows back behind you. And as you earth down through the feet, let's interlace the fingers and pull the arms back. And next time you exhale, if that's accessible for your flexibility today, draw your torso down a little bit farther. Arms can reach upwards. So there's two opposing currents from the hips down to the feet, and then from the hips up to the crown. Relax your facial muscles and your jaw. Take another 3 breaths. Just feeling steady and strong and supported through your legs. And as you breathe in again, draw the hands back, sweep the arms upwards overhead, bend your front knee into just a very gentle, almost modified warrior one. Yes. And pause. Get lots of length through the side body, through the arms, up through the fingers, grounding your back heel to the floor. And then take the arms back down. Good. Let's sweep the arms to the front. Turn the feet to the other side. So both feet pointing straight ahead. Your feet are hip distance apart. Straight legs. Engage your thigh muscles. With your hands, pull the pelvis and the hips back. So you want to create space between the top of your iliac crest and your lower ribs here. So I like to take my hands right on the top of the pelvic bone here and kind of push it back as I ground down through the heels, strong legs. Then arms alongside of the body. Interlace the fingers, forward fold, breathe. Let the head move forward naturally. Extend the arms upwards, just enough to feel deeper sensation as long as you can still breathe through it. Maintain your steadiness and find your level of balance. It's working our vestibular system, so great for our brain and our nervous system because it takes us off center a little bit, challenges our balance in lots of different ways, in different angles. Last 2 breaths. As you continue to breathe, the arms will slowly start to reach downwards, soften through the front knee. And as you begin to come up, the front knee bends a little bit more and extend the arms upwards overhead. Get long and strong and tall. Good. Building that strength and resiliency within your body from head to toe. And then release. Take the arms back down, slide them forward. Good. Hands to the hips. Take the feet a little bit wider. Imagine that you're pulling the legs in towards one another. Forward fold here. Come towards me, dropping the hips, dropping the torso downwards, taking the belly in between the thighs. Slide your hands down your legs towards your shins, maybe your ankles. Let the elbows move out wide. Forehead comes down, almost like it's being guided down in between your 2 legs. Now, still imagining that you're sliding your feet together so that you are switching on the muscles of your inner thighs and allowing the whole back body from your lumbar spine, the middle back, your shoulder blades down to the crown of your head just to release and get spacious. Take your fingertips to the floor in line with your toes and lengthen your heart. Take your heart forward as you lengthen the spine forward towards me. Yes, look up and smile, bringing joy and sukha and lightness to the practice. And then slowly releasing. Soft knees, bend those knees a little bit and just roll fluidly upwards, vertebrae by vertebrae coming up. As you take the feet together, let's extend the arms upwards and this will transition us back to the floor. Reach up. Good. Bend your knees, come back down through a squat. So either feet together or a little bit parted so that you have your balance. Yes, and then come on down into seated. Let's find the middle of our mat. And with your feet on the floor, let's roll down onto our back. Hug your shins with your hands, round your spine, tuck down vertebrae by vertebrae as you lower. And as we began our practice in a seated bound angle, I'd like to take you now into Suptah Parakanasana, which is a reclining bound angle. So the base of the feet or soles of feet come together. And again, finding the distance of your feet. So you may notice that the feet come closer to the pelvic area now than the very beginning of practice. So find that angle. Draw the lower back towards the floor. And let's take our hands onto our bellies. So second energy center, Spadhisthana. Now begin to add some pressure between both feet. So squeeze the feet together. Tuck your chin in towards your chest to lengthen your neck. And as you breathe, hugging the feet towards one another, tilt your pelvis back so that your pubic bone guides the way. Lift your hips up off the floor here and let's hold. Now you've got the weight of your body on your upper back so that the shoulders and the neck are relaxed. Find a sense of floating here. So as much as there might be a little bit of intensity to hold the position, are there areas of unnecessary tension that you could relax? Check in. Your face, your jaw, your shoulders. Let the lower body here do the work. It's helping us layer by layer. Just unlock tension so that prana can flow more freely through the pelvic region. And then very gradually start to roll the spine back down. Release, let your bum come back to the floor. Notice if the knees float open a little bit wider now. Wiggle the hips in micro movement from side to side. Breathe into your abdomen. Open the arms wide. And gradually extend one leg at a time into Shavasana. If your lower back feels vulnerable, know that you can keep your knees bent with your feet the width of your yoga mat. Allow the knees to float towards one another and draw the low back towards the floor. So if that feels like a nicer, soothing option for you today, or even lying on your side, that's fine too. So as you find a comfortable position, keeping your body comfortable, covering yourself or getting warm, close your eyes. Allow a sigh to escape your mouth, your lips. Allow a wave of relaxation to watch over you, softening the muscles of your head, your face, your shoulders and arms, hands and fingers in a natural position. Surrender the weight of your pelvis. Let the torso feel completely released. Your lower body, your thighs, your legs, your feet. Step into the feeling sense of release, relaxation, surrender, and silence for one more minute. And as you draw your awareness back to your breath, scanning the inner body, noticing any flow of prana pulsing through the hands, your face, your chest, noticing the beating of your heart, and any other pulse feelings or heat or tingling that may indicate now that you're feeling more circulation, release in your body. Allow for any instinctual stretch now as we'll begin to conclude the practice in a seating position. Take your time to get there. So taking any kind of stretch that your body might need right now, full body or twists, before rolling onto one side momentarily and coming back, meeting us in a sitting position. And as you come back to sitting slowly, take your time, keep your eyes closed. And just like we began, let's take our hands back to the lower belly, the second energy center that we focused on today in our Go with the Flow practice. And energy flows where focus goes. So let's direct our mind there and create the affirmation that will be our guiding force for today, beginning with I feel. And it's allowing us to feel all of our feelings and allowing ourselves, giving ourselves permission to step into joy and lightness and pleasure. And how can that show up in everything that you do today, regardless of where you are and who you're with? Can you shift your energy, your vibe? So choose a word that you'd like to step in today. How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up? How do you want to leave others feeling after having been in your presence? So choose a word that can serve as your mantra for today. I feel. And then step into that word and the meaning of that word that you've chosen and feel it like you're already living it. You likely have already at some point in your life, so you know what that feels like to step into this verb that you're wanting to feel. So go there now in your imagination, as we know that thoughts manifest into feelings, into emotion, and that's what we then create with our words and our actions and our choices in our life. So everything begins with intention. Let's be mindful of what our intention will be for the rest of the day. And then together we'll share a final breath to conclude our practice, floating the arms skyward, breathing in. And come back to your center, uniting all polarities. Namaste.